All right. Well, appreciate everybody's time for participating in this as well as getting a chance to view this. I am joined by Patrick MacLellan, and Patrick is with Merchant Cost Consulting. So, Patrick, I want to thank you for the time here today and to talk a little bit more about your organization. So, really appreciate it. Good to get a chance to talk to you again.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. And I think, Patrick, that kind of kicks things right off, and it would be a great place to start off with. I'm sure that we have, members and breweries and distilleries and other craft owners and operators logging in and checking this out. The first question is tell us a little bit about Merchant Cost Consulting. Tell us about what it is that you guys do and perhaps also a little bit about your process.
Yeah, so Merchant Cost Consulting is a cost reduction and consulting firm, and we help businesses to renegotiate and optimize their current credit card processing fees without actually having to change vendors. So the process begins by having us take a look at recent processing statements from the merchant, and from there we can put together a savings analysis. And if there's any opportunity for savings and a member wants to engage with those savings in our services, we would simply contact their processor, do the renegotiation, looking out for any sort of inefficiencies, discrepancies, and billing errors, and making sure that they're on the most cost-effective pricing structure, again, without interrupting their day-to-day operations.
Okay. Great. And then, it's a theme that we have with a lot of our organizations that we talk to is, identifying cost savings. I think that's one of the biggest things that I hear or I'm asked is, is where is the potential? Where's the low hanging fruit? And that's a tough question sometimes, right? How do you find where the opportunity exists? And so, you guys, your process, I think really, gets at that. If I, understand it and get a chance to, I think you've got some great collateral on your site to explain that as well. And what you just talked about too, is that the goal is it's not about changing a lot of things,
Yep.
is try to investigate and find that. So let me ask you, you talk to a lot of small business owners, you talk to different, the breweries, those wineries, distilleries, etc. Is there a common mistake or pain point that you come across, on that first conversation a lot, where you find that, that it tends that the conversation goes one way or another, and you're uncovering something or a popular theme that, is kind of a red or yellow flag for you?
Yeah, so I think it's important for business owners, any business owner, to really take a look at their expenses, especially within merchant services. So that's where the biggest mistake you see is them just not really, doing a deep dive into their actual merchant services and taking a look at their statement. A lot of breweries and wineries that we've been able to help out with, they think that because their processor is integrated directly with their POS system or a software, that they're handcuffed and there's nothing that they can do, and whatever they're paying is what they have to pay. But if you kind of do that deep dive and looking at all of the different rates and fees, there probably has been a pricing increase over time, or there have been add-on fees, and there's a lot of things, bogus fees that can be removed. So I think for a business owner just to take a look at that and making sure that they're not paying any additional fees is very important. Even if they're small monthly fees, they can add up, and they really can start affecting the bottom line.
That is great, and just for my own education too, and I think a lot of people out there too, that those fees that you talk about, those change in fees or maybe errors that go unnoticed. Just can you make again the distinction there of where those are coming from versus where I think that the layperson thinks that they're all one entity? Like when I go and check out, or if I'm working with any number of different POS platforms out there, is that where the charges and fees that you're talking about are coming from, or is it later in the process?
Yeah, so typically, you have a couple of different hands that are in getting a piece of the pie. when it comes to these fees. So you have it coming from the processor. If there's a software integration, they're getting a kickback, and same with the POS provider. And typically they'll offer introductory rates to make it appealing to sign up for their services. And after time, it's pretty inevitable that the processor is going to increase their pricing, just like your cable or your insurance bill. Except merchant services is just like that, almost on steroids. So 6 months down the line from signing up, the pricing is probably going to increase somewhere, or they're going to add in some sort of fees.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's important to know. You mentioned that common mistake or error is that not going back and looking at it or starting to understand where that is. But I would ask you though that I just think of it, time is such a precious thing, of like having the time to do that, but then also know what they're looking for, know how to do it. I can understand where that would be frustrating for a lot of the brewery owners that I work with, a lot of the different wineries, to say, I don't even know where to get started, and kind of thing. And so what's the recommendation for those owners? Where do you start? With that call, when they start to say, I think there might be something there, but I just don't know how to get started, or where do you take that recommendation?
I think it's pretty simple. It's just a simple math calculation of taking the total fees that were paid during a given month and dividing that by the total amount of sales ran during that given month. And if that number is above 2.5%, or the merchant's paying over 2.5% on their merchant fees, they're probably overpaying in some different areas. So I think as long as that they can get those numbers, calculate that, I think that's a great starting point to see, okay, maybe I am being overcharged from a processor.
Okay. That's helpful to know. I think that's, where, okay, give me some step one, some step two, that they're looking for from that.
Yeah, just
So
because it can be tough with the merchant statement. There's so many different line items. It's almost like reading another language. So it's just to do that simple math is just the great starting point.
And that's also where you guys really, can come in as well too. I mean, that's kind of the help of where I could see a lot saying, I don't even, now that I even know that, trying to understand it, looking for help, someone to do that, someone to take the time, who knows, can start to audit that a little bit, tell me if there's something there. Maybe it's after the fact, to help, monitor all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, with what you guys are doing, and more, I just, we were thinking the other day of how little I'm using cash, right? It's the credit card, it's digital, it's cash, just carrying it less and less. And I know I'm not alone. Are there other trends that you're seeing in your industry that is, going in one direction or another direction that small business owners should be aware of, or the impact that you guys are seeing that, you talked about, the idea that over time, this is just something that's, a growing part of the industry, or part of the industry, these fee changes, kind of hidden a lot of times. Any other trends that you guys are tracking and noting that is continuing to grow?
Yeah, I think it's just the more use of plastic used by consumers is growing. Not to say cash is becoming obsolete, but everyone wants their rewards points, their flyer miles, the cash back. So they're looking to put that on their credit card, whether it's a big purchase or even a small ticket item. And then, you see inflation, obviously, and the current economic environment, and different pricing increases, but that's the same in the processing world. They're making adjustments on their end as well, and their cost of services are increasing. So it's just going to keep going that way. That's the trend that we're seeing. So even more so, it's important to take a look at some of those expense line items, just to see where different improvements can be made.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Other thing that comes to mind that I've heard as a frustration from this world is, it seems like companies and organizations are taking two paths with, just more and more, you're dealing almost entirely with an online entity, right? You've got your statement,
Mhm.
and an email that you can sometimes send something to and left going, I just want to talk to someone and am I reading this right? Am I understanding this right? And have that interaction with some of these larger interactions where more and more, I feel like you don't have that person you could talk to and kind of walk you through and help kind of do it. And I think that's maybe by design sometimes, right? Where, that's, the mystery of the big black box. So,
100%.
I appreciate, and I know talking with others, I think appreciate just being like, I want to be able to talk to someone, ask questions. What are you guys seeing? What's something you might have seen at another client recently that's very similar that, this is what, we're seeing this, and, maybe it's regional sometimes, maybe it's sometimes in a certain industry, all of that. But at the end of the day, just nice to talk to someone and have that interaction. So, I definitely feel that there's a value to do that, to have someone who can walk me through, some of the calculations you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's what we want to be, the kind of liaison between the business and their processor, just because sometimes they don't get the best answers from their processors, or they're very tough to get a hold of, calling an 800 number, waiting on holds. So that's where, from a consultancy standpoint, we really want to help the business with anything merchant services related.
Yeah. Well, this is great, Patrick. I really appreciate it. I think that this really gives our members and our potential members, people looking to, be part of the federation and understand a lot of our partner network is around this idea of how do I run my business better? How do I find out where to spend my time and energy? Where am I, overpaying unknowingly in cases? Or it's sometimes nice to maybe get a green light that, we did an audit, we looked at this, and, you're in line, so that's a good feeling too, right? So I appreciate, this was really helpful, I think, to just give an overview and see what mistakes are being made or what pain is out there and how people can take that first step. So this was really good here to get a chance to talk to you. So I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dan. Always great speaking with you. And hopefully we can, help some members reduce this cost.
That sounds great. Again, thanks a lot for your time, Patrick.
Thanks. Take care, Dan.